gouvernement et arrêter la signature d'entente
and stop the
avec des
signing of an
entreprises des
agreement with
États-Unis,
businesses
sauf dans
from
le
the
cas où
U.S.,
il agit de
especially in the
services critiques
case
pour les gens
where
de
it is a critical
Nouveau-Brunswick
service for the
qui ne
people of
peut
New
pas
Brunswick
remplacer
who
immédiatement.
cannot immediately replace that service.
I've asked Opportunities New Brunswick and the Department of Post-Secondary Education, Training, and Labor to finalize, in line with federal supports, our programs to support workers and entrepreneurs. Details will be announced soon. We are participating in an aggressive review of internal trade barriers to strengthen the Canadian economy in collaboration with federal, provincial, and territorial governments. And as we have in the past, New Brunswick will lead the way in reducing barriers and eliminating exemptions. We will continue to seek other measures that New Brunswick can take to protect its workers and our economy. J'ai demandé à l'Opportunité Nouveau-Brunswick et le
I have asked
ministère
Opportunity New
d'éducation
Brunswick and the
postsecondaire,
Ministry
de la
of
formation
Post-Secondary
et du travail
Education, Training,
de
and
mettre
Labor
au point le programme pour soutenir les
to
travailleurs
update the
et les
program to support
entrepreneurs en
workers
harmonie
and
avec le
business
soutien
owners in
offert par le
harmony
gouvernement
with
fédéral.
federal
Les détails
support.
seront annoncés bientôt.
Details will be announced soon.
On va examiner de façon
We will
audacieuse
be
les obstacles
reviewing
à l'intérieur
the
afin de
audacious
renforcer
obstacles
l'économie
within trade
canadienne
to
en
strengthen
collaboration
the Canadian
avec les
economy
gouvernements
in
fédéraux,
collaboration with the
provinciaux et
federal,
territoriaux.
provincial, and territorial governments. New Brunswick will continue to be a leader by eliminating barriers for trade across the country and our exemptions as well. We will continue to identify other measures that New Brunswick could take to protect its workers and economy. My greatest priority is to protect New Brunswick's workers and businesses across the province. It is more important than ever that we strengthen our economy, that we buy Canadian and New Brunswick products, and that we unite to demonstrate the resilience of our people and our province.
My number one priority is to protect New Brunswick workers and businesses. It's more important than ever to build up our economy, to buy Canadian and buy New Brunswick, and come together to demonstrate the resilience of our people and our province. Merci. Thank you.
Merci, la Première Ministre. Thank you, Premier. We will now go to questions. And since we have quite a few on the line, we will just start by doing one journalist from each outlet and then loop back around if we have time. So starting with Jacques Poitras, CBC.
Hello, you hear me okay? One question, one follow?
Yes.
So you talk about stopping signing deals with U.S. Companies unless they can't be replaced. What are we talking about in terms of dollar value or the scope of that? Like, how big is that really?
That's a good question, Jacques. We don't have the dollar figures for what's on the docket to be signed that we will not sign going forward. Government procurement is significant, but thankfully much of it is Canadian and New Brunswick. So let me get that figure for you.
Okay, and secondly, we're aware of already of one large employer in the province who has said that they could shift their production elsewhere, presumably meaning the U.S., even if it's temporary until the tariff issue is resolved. Have you heard that from other employers? And what is your concern about that becoming permanent?
Yes, we have heard from a number of employers who have the opportunity to shift production into the U.S. As a temporary measure while the tariffs are in place. I have serious concerns about these tariffs becoming permanent, and it is our goal to remove them as quickly as possible. And so we are looking at ways that we can help businesses defray the cost and the competitive disadvantage that the tariffs bring in place. But we also won't be able to subsidize the full effect of that production to prevent it from going into the U.S. So it's something that we're looking at on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you, Jacques. Alexandre Boudreau, Acadie Nouvelle.
Ouais, un petit peu dans la même veine. Je voudrais savoir si vous pouvez préciser qu'est-ce que
I'd like to know if you could clarify what you meant Can you hear me? Yes.
Qu'est-ce que vous voulez dire quand vous disiez
What did you mean when you said
services dans le fond vous allez continuer de conclure des
services that will be continued with companies that have services that are critical for New Brunswickers? What are the exceptions specifically? There are things that we buy from the U.S. that we do not have a Canadian option for. There is no local option. So if we cannot replace the product or the service with something else, then we cannot stop that. This includes medical products, for example, and other similar things that do not always exist on the Canadian market or elsewhere. So there are some things that we will not be able to stop buying, and we'll look for alternatives. Do you have any examples of that? You've given public service that directive, but you don't have any supporting figures. I understand that it's just the first day, but do you have any more details on the impact that directive could have in not signing agreements with companies from the U.S.? We can share figures with you later, and I can come up with some concrete examples of products that we buy from the U.S. that do not have a replacement available in Canada, if you would like those details. Thank you. I'd also like to know, again, if you could give examples of concrete action that you will take to reduce interprovincial trade barriers. New Brunswick is the second province that has the most barriers with interprovincial trade. And so what will you do on that matter? Well, if we look at the contract, for example, with internal trade in Canada, New Brunswick has some of the fewest exceptions and exemptions in Canada. We will continue to work with our colleagues to remove those exemptions and truly remove those barriers. We can transport all our products and services from one side of the country to the other without barriers. Based on the information that we have, you said that New Brunswick is the second most province with exemptions. Could you provide supporting information that New Brunswick has the least number of exemptions? Sure, we could provide that as is in the list of exemptions. We have the second fewest, and we can share that.
Merci, Alexandre. Hina Alam, Canadian Press.
Hi, Premier. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about whether Starlink operates in New Brunswick and what will be done to reduce dependence on Starlink, especially in rural areas.
Thanks, Hina. To my understanding, some New Brunswickers have contracts with Starlink to receive their internet services. I can check. It's not to my knowledge that the government of New Brunswick has a contract with Starlink, but I will double check on that information. We certainly wouldn't prevent New Brunswickers from accessing an internet service of their choice. That's that they can choose how they want to spend their money and what services they want to purchase. But I can check and see what the government of New Brunswick's contracts look like with Starlink. I'm not aware of any, as I say. So we can get back to you on that.
Okay. And the other thing, it's a more general question. I was wondering if you could comment on this patriotic surge that you're now seeing among Canadians. What have you experienced about it? And is there an anti-American sentiment right now?
Oh, I certainly think that we are seeing a beautiful surge of maple leafs and people actively looking for ways that they can celebrate Canadian producers and Canadian products. I see people messaging and posting daily about where they've found Canadian products, which thing they're stopping to buy, which one they are going to buy. And it's really heartening to see New Brunswickers out there supporting our local companies and their products. And I think that comes alongside a bit of an anti-American sentiment, a frustration that our closest neighbor and trading partner has decided to treat us this way. And so I have heard the frustrations that folks have expressed toward American products and this decision by Donald Trump.